Hello, everyone. My name's Helen Looking, and I'm a solicitor specialising in family law. And with me is my colleague, Natalie Maher. And we are here to do the Debrief the Legal podcast. So, we're here today to talk about cohabitation agreements. So, Natalie, can you explain to everybody what a cohabitation agreement is?
So, a cohabitation agreement, as the name might suggest, is an agreement you would enter into with your partner. You're not married, but you're living together. Cohabitation agreement can set out things such as if you were to separate, what should happen to the property you're living in together. It can set out your intentions about who's going to pay bills, or how you might share any other assets as well that you have as part of your property together. It's worth noting that it isn't just for couples who are living in a property they own together or one of them owns. It can also be for couples that are living together in a rental property. Again, same thing,
Hmm.
recording essentially their intention about what should happen if they separate in terms of the rent, or who might take over the lease if they were to separate.
Yeah. Okay. And what are the risks? Are there any risks involved if somebody doesn't have a cohabitation agreement and they're living together?
Yeah, definitely. We're seeing more and more people living together now as couples, not marrying necessarily, or buying a property and living together before they intend to get married. The difficulty is if that unfortunately that relationship does break down, there's a degree of uncertainty as to what should happen with the property in terms of who should move out, if anybody, who should pay the bills, but also should that property be sold or transferred to one person? And if it is to be sold, how that money is going to be divided. Very often we see people contribute different amounts towards the deposit on purchase
Yes.
of the property. Or indeed contribute different amounts towards renovations to property as well. They might buy a property that they intend to do up, a family's member's property that they've bought and want to renovate. The difficulty with that is, although one person may have contributed more than another, it's not always the case that if there was an issue when you separated, that the court would say it should be divided to take that into account. So that's why we suggest cohabitation agreements so that it can record exactly what you intend from the outset, or indeed, if you plan to do any renovations on the property, spend money on it, it can record what you intend should happen in the event the relationship does break down and the property is sold, how you want to split the net proceeds on sale.
That's great, thank you. Yes, so it's a contract, isn't it, between
It
two
is.
people? But and it just sets out, as you say, what happens to the property, or
Mhm.
what happens to the bank accounts, or how things are going to be divided. So that, and then do you find that when people, if they did separate, they would then have that certainty, and the peace of mind of being able to just think, actually, we know what's going to happen if we did separate.
Yeah,
And of course, the advantage of that as well is, again, that they wouldn't then have to perhaps spend as much on legal fees in trying to sort it
of
out.
course, of course. And the thing is, the law for there's a misconception in the UK of the common law partner. There is no such thing as a common law partner in the UK. Um, if you're living together and you separate, there isn't the same protection for you from a legal point of view as if you were married to each other and you were going through a divorce.
So we also, I think, find that there are, as you say, more and more people living together, and people are being it's the common law husband and wife. People
Yeah.
say that that's a term, and therefore we've lived together for 7 years, so therefore we've got the same rights as a married couple,
Mhm.
and it's just not the case.
No, it's not the case. They're very different laws in terms of what the court's powers are. Um, if you divorce, the court has wide discretion, can make many different orders to achieve a fair outcome. If you're a cohabiting couple and you separate and there's a dispute about property, the court is very, very limited in the orders that they can make. It would be more a case of making a declaration of what the legal position is between you both. More often than not, if you don't have something like a cohabitation agreement, people might feel they walk away with less than what they would have hoped for, particularly they've contributed a greater proportion towards property and it's not been recorded in something like a cohabitation agreement. The other difficulty is to larter claims, so it falls under trusts of land for cohabiting couples if they do need to go to court. It can be particularly long proceedings, particularly expensive proceedings, and that's why we'd always suggest if you're planning on moving in with a partner or you already have moved in with a partner and would like to get some advice about cohabitation agreement, definitely seek independent legal advice, particularly if you are thinking of doing renovations or contributing unequally towards the property.
That's lovely. Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you.